the weather has actually returned to spring after the last late frost, and I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on how my plants survived through a couple of days of extremely unexpected cold weather, and show you where we had some issues and show you where we had a lot of success. So as you can see, my clematis is doing absolutely beautiful. It's got some gorgeous buds that it's about to break. And last year this plant was just barely hanging on. Look at that one about to come out. Look how pretty. And it didn't produce very well, and I was kind of afraid that it would not make it through the winter, but boy, did it prove me wrong. It is absolutely beautiful and just throwing buds like you would not believe. These flowers, I mean, look how big. And they're beautiful, and I don't know if the color comes through, but they're almost like two-tone pale pink and fuchsia. Absolutely gorgeous. And then I was actually discussing my absolutely incredible honeysuckle privacy fence. Most of the rest of our fence looks like that, and we tried out several plants last year to see what would grow really nicely, would fill in the fence pretty quickly, and allow us to have a little bit more privacy from our neighbors. Well, they're not right up against us. They are close enough where if, we want privacy in the backyard, or we want to make sure the dogs don't get out, or, we have people over swimming that, they're not exposed to the whole world. And honeysuckle was hands down the big winner. The cold weather didn't even phase this plant. It just, at one point it had icicles all over it, and it was just, I was concerned, and man, it went through the roof. Fortunately, my Confederate Star Jasmine, not so much. And as you can see, so on this section of fence, we had 3 Confederate Star Jasmine. One right here, one right there on that post, and then one right there. And of these 3, you can see last year they grew up, and they started to grow sideways, but they were pretty spare on leaves. There wasn't a ton of foliage, and it wasn't super full. And with the winter, so far it looks like only one of them is coming back, which I kind of had a feeling might happen. So when we ordered all our plants from the conservation district, I got 1, 2, 3 more honeysuckle for this fence. And then I planted some more down on that section of fence way down there. Right here last year I had, back up for you, I planted Hummingbird Vine. We have loads and loads of hummingbirds that come here every year. And they're absolutely beautiful, and I absolutely love having them here. I love hanging feeders, and I planted a lot of plants in the last year to support our pollinators and our birds. And this was one of them. Obviously, the jasmine and honeysuckle, also part of it. This one took up, it goes almost all the way to right about here with its vines from the ground up, and then comes over to about right there. This plant last year, while it grew really long vines, it wasn't very leafy, and it didn't flower. So I was considering how thin the stalks are and stuff. I was concerned that this also would not make it through the winter. But man, do these plants keep proving me wrong. And I love it. It makes me so happy. So this is starting to come back. Since it started up a little late, I have a feeling a lot of this stuff is dead farther that way. But at the rate this thing grows, it'll be full up again in no time. So since I thought this was not going to make it, I actually planted a wisteria right here. So that'll also bring in the pollinators, and the two of these can survive pretty well together. And it'll be really pretty to have that blue purple and the orange flowers together, so that will be really nice. One of the things, I'll go walk across the pool. There's my man Chance taking a sun bath. He was a little chilly with the cold weather, so he got to put his R2-D2 sweater back on. And the pool, we're still working on the pool. The pool is a never-ending battle for some reason. So with my other plants, so with these plants, I covered them a couple of different ways. I used the cover off of a busted greenhouse to cover these 4. And as you can see, I got a little bit of yellowing on some things, but nothing really major. Kale, I mean, kale could survive everything and not even be phased, but these peppers right here, I don't know if they're going to make it. They have got a lot of frost damage. And I don't know if it was humidity that got stuck underneath the greenhouse cover and froze on the leaves, or if it was just the cold just got to it. I came out one night and the cover was blown off, so I don't know if that did it, but as you can see, there's some dead leaves, a bunch of wilting. So we'll have to see if these guys make it. I'm gonna give them some oomph with a little bit of compost and some green sand and see how they do, because this is a mammoth jalapeno, a cubanelle, another cubanelle, and a Thai hot pepper. My other kale, this bed and that bed, I actually covered with clear vinyl sheeting, real well thick clear vinyl sheeting, and I pushed them up against over there. No problem whatsoever. My peppers that are over here on the fence are actually doing incredibly well. And I have them set up using a method I learned from another YouTuber, Hollis and Nancy's Homestead. Their channel's awesome, so check them out. He uses stakes and a cage around all of his peppers, and to protect them from getting destroyed in the wind, and the wind where we live is horrific, so I definitely took that advice. He also plants cut up fish underneath all of his peppers, but because of my dogs, I don't think it would matter how deep I buried it, they dig it up. So I'm going to use a fish fertilizer on these guys and see if that will give me some oomph. This plant right here, oh, that's just dirt. That's not even damage. Okay, we've got one little mushy curled leaf, but two little leaves. I also packed around them real good with extra hay to give them some insulation, and I covered them actually with the plastic bags that soil comes in, so that they'd be easy to cover over the cage, easy to take off, stay in place, you know, all that good stuff, and it worked really well. And then these are the other two. This one is a Tabasco plant. Nope, I'm sorry, that's a habanero plant. This one is a Tabasco plant. And this one is a red cherry. And this one I think is a yum yum. Yeah, that's a yum yum. So the grapes, yeah, they have some leaves. Some of it's a little limp. So we'll see how it fares. Just give it some time. And if they don't make it, well, they don't make it. But I do have 3 of them. And this one has a couple of curled leaves, but it's also got some leaves that aren't curled, so that hopefully will do okay. And then this one down here, it's got one, is that even it? No, that belongs to something else. It is completely unfazed, so that's awesome. I did not wrap my pear tree, my apricots, or my pawpaws or any of my honeysuckle. I just let all of that be. And then I wrapped my peach tree because it has started, it's done flowering and it started to produce fruit. And I did not want that to get frost damage before the fruit even exists. See if you can see these pretty little. So I wrapped it in a garbage bag and I put a couple of holes in it so that it could get air. But it is on its way to producing an abundance of fruit, which makes me really happy. My blueberries, not a problem. They're just humming right along. The other plant I did cover was this peach tree because we're really trying to get a really good peach harvest because peaches are one of the main fruits that Bobby uses in his hot sauces. So I covered this one also with a garbage bag because it's had some real tender little leaves on it and it survived really well. As for my potatoes, I only have a couple of plants that have damage, thankfully. And as you can see, it's mostly the tops. So I'm going to come in here with the clippers and clip the tops off. You can see there's just some on these. These are Yukon Golds and Russets. This plant, I think because it was down lower in the bucket, these are Gold Rush. It doesn't have any damage. Neither does this bucket, which is, where's the name on the bucket? These are White Superiors. And those are good. These are, how did all the buckets get turned around where the names are in the back? That doesn't help me. Let's see. Did I write the name on the bucket? Uh-oh. Did I do a boo-boo? Oh well. We'll figure it out. But these only had some little tiny damage on them. Oh, there it is. Red Norlands. That's what those are. These were the first ones to come up, and they were banging and a booming from the moment they came out of the ground. And then as you can see, I've got more White Superiors, no damage. More Red Normans, very little damage. And then these are all Adirondack Blues, and it didn't faze them at all, as you can see. So, I had noticed that I had some, actually I'm going to go over here where you can see what I did a little bit better maybe. I noticed when we were digging that bed for the corn that there were a lot of slugs around and under my potato plants. And because of that, I did a little research and discovered that there is a very easy, non-toxic, safe for pets, safe for you way to deal with slugs and keeping them away from your plants. And that is pecan mulch. And not pecan wood mulch, pecan nut mulch. So these are the off-castings from cracking and selling all the nuts that we buy in the grocery stores, all the pecans. So they take it and they just probably very lightly mash it because it's still, there's a lot of pieces that are pretty big, but I think because it's pokey and sharp, they really are not fans. So hopefully that will keep my potatoes safe from the slugs. Evil little slugs. This bed, all I did was take one big piece of black 6mm plastic and put it over the entire bed. And all of my plants in this bed are in super good shape. All of the peas that are climbing look really, really good. The bush beans are starting to come up really nicely. And then that is a rhubarb. This is a rhubarb. And there are even more peas on this edge of the fence. My parsnips, I don't know if they're going to come up or not. I don't know if what's going to go on with those. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Then we'll go back here where we started. There's the pool. And I'll show you what's going on over here. So this mint bush is just ridiculous. I get so much mint from this plant. It's unbelievable. I cut this thing almost all the way to the ground multiple times during the growing season, and it just pumps out more and more and more and more and more mint. I dry it. I make tinctures with it. I make flavorings with it. I bake with it. I cook with it. I do everything I can with it, and it just is such a strong plant. It's actually pretty incredible. I would say the same thing about my raspberries, because they have so many runners now. They're coming up in my grass. That's not through a crack in that rock. No, it is actually in the ground out here. So it's sending up runners all over the place. So I am really, really excited and hoping that I will get a incredibly good harvest out of these bad boys. I mean, that's a broken branch. But these guys are everywhere, and they are doing really, really well. They are really, really beautiful. I did not cut them down last year, the canes. I let them be. I just wanted to see how they would be affected, if they'd make it, if they'd not make it, and they have just done wonders. The cold did not affect them at all. It covered this whole area also in black plastic, and all of the plants are perfectly okay. I've got a butternut squash and a spaghetti squash growing right here. And then I've got some romaine growing right here. The other couple of them died long before the rain. Wait. There's another one. So we do have a couple of romaine growing out here. They're a little sad, but I've got some friends for them so we can feed Luxie and eat more lettuce wraps. I'm so excited. And then I've got potato plants coming up out here. I just sort of had nowhere to put them, so I decided I'd just stick them in the edge of this bed that is filled with turnips. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, you're not supposed to grow turnips and potatoes together. It's such a bad idea. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I've actually seen some videos where people did that. Grew potatoes and turnips together. These are purple top turnips. And they got great yields out of both plants. So we'll see. I have no idea how these potatoes are going to produce in this heavy clay soil. I mean, it's been amended. There is a lot of organic matter that's been put into this soil. But it's still rocky. It's still, there's patches where there's a lot of clay. So it's very unclear how these are going to grow. So if they just grow up top and don't grow at the bottom, I still have another root crop to come out of this bed, which would make me really happy. So if the turnips don't do well and the potatoes do well, then I'll also be happy with that too. I have seeded these turnips elsewhere over by where all our pool equipment is. The area was mulched before, and the weeds were starting to take over, so I decided if anything was going to take over there, it should be something that we're actually going to eat. So I seeded turnips, purple top turnips, and Brussels sprouts over there. So everything, little man is inspecting, making sure everything is doing well. He is the gardener deluxe. All right, everybody, have a good day. I can't wait to know how you guys fared and made it through all of this bad weather that we have, this unexpected cold snap. I really hope your plants survived and that you don't have any long-term effects on your gardening this season.